Here's a bright painted 1930s or maybe 1940s Art Deco waterfall dresser with what appears to be a very large swan plastered across all three drawers. For obvious reasons, it's the perfect educational restoration project for my channel. You see, a friend of mine reached out to me recently and sent me a marketplace listing for a free dresser. She said, "This looks like something you'd take on." When I contacted the owner, I found out she actually had a second painted dresser she was willing to sell me at the same time. Two forgotten pieces, both covered in layers of colorful paint, both full of questions about what might be hiding underneath. My name is Barry, and it's good to be with you again. It's safe to say this piece was painted within the last 5 years, but when I tested the paint for lead, the first swab made me nervous for a moment. After several negative tests, I realized why the first swab appeared so red, and you'll see in a moment. The first few steps for removing paint from old furniture like this are often the same. I'll use a brush to spread the paint remover across the top of the dresser, then let it sit for at least 15 minutes. It only took a few minutes to discover why the first lead test swab appeared to be red. The drawer fronts are what made me nervous with this project. Art Deco pieces were often covered with thin layers of veneer, and based on the damage I can already see, this is certainly thin veneer. I'm guessing this design comes from some kind of mold, and was probably secured using an adhesive like Mod Podge. Surprisingly, a heat gun and a scraper removed most of this quickly and with ease. The top appears to be ready, and I'm carefully using a metal scraper to scrape the paint off in the direction of the wood grain. This revealed several layers of paint, and I can already tell this is going to require several coats of paint remover. At this point, I've removed paint from a lot of furniture, but I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before. Only recently have I realized, whenever the paint doesn't come off completely with the first coat of paint remover, rather than fight it with other more aggressive methods, I find it's best to just continue applying more coats, while gently scrubbing the paint off with steel wool, fine brass brushes, and shop rags. It didn't take long to discover one reason why someone may have decided this was a good furniture piece to paint: significant veneer damage to the drawer fronts. It looks to me like whoever painted this first filled these voids with Bondo or another kind of filler. Although this dresser is now a disaster that will need a lot of work to restore, I don't blame the person who painted this. This time, I didn't find any evidence of irreversible damage that was done to prep this piece for painting. Based on what I found inside the drawers and the bright colors throughout, this was likely used for a child's bedroom, and I guess that's now part of the story of this 100-year-old piece. So maybe calling this an ugly swan dresser is a bit too harsh. Instead, I guess I'll just say that in its current state, it isn't really my style. At this point, I now have enough of the paint removed to stand back and assess all of the damage. I can now see the original holes for the hardware, but more importantly, it's now obvious that there is too much veneer damage on the bottom two drawers to even consider patching. So instead, I think I'll remove this original veneer and start over completely, but this would prove to be difficult. Restoring furniture all day means long hours in the shop, and by the time I finally take a break, the last thing I want to do is figure out what to eat. So I'm excited to share with you the meals that Cook Unity has provided for me this week. Cook Unity delivers chef-made meals right to your door, fully cooked, fresh, never frozen, and ready in just a few minutes. We're talking restaurant-quality dishes created by real chefs, not mystery meals pulled out of a freezer. I can just head inside from the shop, pop one in the oven or microwave, and actually sit down to something that tastes homemade without spending a lot of time in the kitchen. They've got tons of options: high protein, gluten-free, low carb, whatever fits your lifestyle. You can scan the QR code on each meal to find out more about the chef who created the meal, as well as additional nutritional facts about the meal. One of my favorite dishes was by John DeLucci, featuring a plush salmon fillet rubbed with chili seasoned salt, and is served over a refreshing salad with capers and tangy artichokes. I'm sharing with you some of my personal favorites from the week, and let me tell you, these meals were amazing. So if you want to eat better without sacrificing your time, check out Cook Unity. By choosing Cook Unity, you're choosing to support me, and I can't thank you enough for your support. Go to the link in the video description now to try Cook Unity and get 50% off your first order of chef-made meals delivered fresh to your door. Once again, Cook Unity is offering my viewers 50% off their first order. Click the link in the video description below and use my code MADCITY to try it out. Thank you, Cook Unity, for making this restoration project possible. There are a few things to consider when removing old veneer like this. Most veneer was pressed on from the factory using heat and a form of water-based adhesive like hide glue. So using a heat gun should soften the adhesive enough to make this easy to scrape off. Using a heat gun and a scraper did work, but not as well as I would have hoped, so I decided to lay a warm, damp towel on top of this drawer front for about 2 hours. If you've ever seen an old piece of furniture that was left out in the rain, and it has wrinkled veneer from all the moisture, Well, this towel method should hopefully have a similar outcome. This did help, and with the heat gun, the moisture, and a chisel, I finally began to find a rhythm I was content with. Near the end, I did also try to soften the adhesive using an iron, but that didn't work too well this time. I'm now ready to use the orbital sander with a 150 grit disc to prepare the surface for new veneer. I wasn't too surprised to find a few gouges in the substrate. These were likely from the sharp chisel, and I'll just patch them with an epoxy filler. I'll need something flat to press the new veneer while it dries, so I went to the Habitat store and found some engineered particle board for $2. This 2-foot by 8-foot roll of walnut veneer was not cheap, $80. I had a hard time justifying that cost for a cheaper educational project, but I'm still left with plenty of excess for several more projects. So here are the following steps that you'll see. I'll simply cut this new veneer to size, roll on a contact cement to the substrate and the back of the veneer, wait till it's tacky, press it on, then clamp everything down. There's one advantage I do have using new walnut veneer for two of the drawer fronts. I don't need to worry about a perfect match to the original veneer. Art Deco pieces are notorious for having a variety of contrasting grain patterns and wood species. It's actually why I was pleased that the top drawer, with its unique patterns, was still mostly intact. I now have many hours of detail work to continue removing all the leftover paint on this Art Deco piece, and that can be exhausting, but I'm often working on 3 or 4 projects at the same time in my small workshop, so you'll likely notice the crowded space. This not only allows for a better use of my time, but it keeps me from getting too worn down by the same task for hours at a time. In a moment, I'll show you another painted piece I'm working on, and I'm sure many of you can identify this iconic mid-century design. Here's a glimpse of a painted project that I was hoping to have out before this Art Deco dresser, but I ran into a few problems, as you'll see. Do you recognize this style? I don't plan to keep this dresser, but I'll try to clean up every inch of it so it's nice enough for the new owner. Thankfully, the casters didn't require much work. They cleaned up nicely, and I do like having them on this piece. This used to be so frustrating in the past, removing paint from old furniture, only to find more paint clinging to the wood fibers, everywhere. I found that a fine brass brush and acetone can remove most of this. Over the years, these sponge-like sanding pads on the Surf Prep 3x4 electric sander have been a game changer. They conform so well to the unique profiles without causing damage while sanding. This isn't an effort to promote the product, but I'll share my 10% discount code if it's an investment that you're considering. I don't believe this was a beginner who painted this furniture piece, because he or she went through the trouble of adding wood filler to these grooves on the top drawer face. I wondered throughout the entire project what I might use for the drawer pulls. The ones that came with the dresser are actually nice and solid, but I'm almost certain they're from Hobby Lobby. I searched through my inventory and found these period correct handles. Truthfully, I don't care much for this look after mixing and matching the pulls, but I didn't have 6 of the same, and this is an excuse to use the drawer pulls that I've had in my inventory for years. Most of these old pulls are covered with a protective coat of lacquer, so I'll soak these in acetone for about a minute, then scrub off the lacquer with fine steel wool. After washing these in dish soap, I decided to polish them with the benchtop wire wheel. These handles are just plated steel, so the colors will vary, but I do like the patina, while also restoring the shiny luster. The last thing I'll do is add a coat of lacquer for brass. The final sanding before staining is done with a 150 grit sanding pad over the entire piece. This helps eliminate any sharp edges and provides consistency across the entire piece. I chose a light walnut oil-based penetrating stain for this dresser. I think this color is close to period correct, and more importantly, I just like it. I'm going to apply it with a few foam brushes and wipe it off almost immediately with a few shop rags. The stain is dry, and I'm ready to add the first coat of lacquer sealer. I'll mix in a little blush retarder to hopefully prevent any moisture from being trapped in the coat of sealer. It's about 65 degrees Fahrenheit in the workshop, but still not an ideal environment to be using an HVLP sprayer. I don't really have much choice here in Wisconsin at the moment. I'll do the best I can to cover the items that are directly behind the dresser, and regarding overspray on any other items in the workshop, I found that the particles often dry in the air before they land on any dust-covered surfaces. After the first coat of sealer, I'll mix some lacquer with a few powder stains and attempt to conceal the areas where epoxy filler was used. For the second coat of lacquer sealer, I'll mix in a little medium walnut dye stain to hopefully blend all the different colors together. The result won't be perfect this time, but I guess that's the point of referring to this less valuable furniture piece as an educational project. Finally, I'll add on a coat of clear satin lacquer, drill new holes for the hardware, and call this one good for now. I want to say how thankful I am to so many of you for continuing to watch each new video. And thank you so much for all the letters, emails, messages, gifts, and comments over the last few months. This year has already been amazing, and I can't wait to share with you what's next. My name is Barry, and thanks for sticking with me. Goodbye for now.